a key role in what you just mentioned, the ignorance. You know what I mean? Even those who call themselves Master Masons, Freemasons. Um, First of all, you can't be a Master Mason and never have heard of the relationship between Freemasonry and ancient Egypt. But it's one thing to have heard of it, and it's another thing to accept its legitimacy. Because of the indoctrination that you find in the Bible and in European Grand Lodges, where they indoctrinate those, let's say, members, right, or Masons who belong to that order with the misinformation that Freemasonry began in Europe, right, and or that Freemasonry began with white people. This and it's corroborated by using biblical references, such as the very ritual of initiation in Freemasonry itself is dealing with a man they call Hiram Abiff. This is a biblical character, right, who worked alongside Solomon, the one they, the biblical individual Solomon, who has also never been proven to historically exist. Working alongside of these individuals to build Solomon's temple, which has never been proven to exist outside of a wall, right? That's found there. That's found there now. But these characters, Solomon, this Hiram Abiff, these biblical characters have never been proven to exist. Yet we know for a fact they were based off of the stories of individuals in ancient Egypt, pharaohs specifically. So, family, when we look up on YouTube, when you look it up on YouTube and you watch the ritual that takes place when a Mason gets initiated, and you show you see this individual being blindfolded, right? He's being walked around, certain things are said to him, right? And he's struck upside the head symbolically by 3 different individuals. And this is supposed to represent the ritual that every Master Mason must go through, representing the historical event that took place between Hiram Abiff, this Master Mason, in the biblical story. But what people don't know is that this entire story was taken from a Nubian or an Egyptian pharaoh named Seqenenre-Tao, right? I know that sounds, some people have never heard of that name before, but this is a pharaoh of the 25th dynasty, right? Right before, 3 dynasties before Ahmose and Kakmos, which were 2 of his sons, rose up and chased the Hebrew Israelites out of ancient Egypt. So I have to bring context to what we're speaking about here.
And the bot, turn your screensaver on, man. You got it on again. Turn it off.
Okay, all right, my fault. You got to keep reminding me.
No problem, bro.
All right. Hi, can I jump in?
Yeah, you had a go ahead, sis. You could jump in. I'm just throwing a number of things out there, hoping it stimulates the family to ask a question or
No, what you're talking about is absolutely spot on. I love that you're talking about all those things. It's information that I love. I just wanted to ask if anyone had really touched on who Prince Hall was.
You got it. You can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't encourage me like that. So Prince Hall, who was he? He was actually a slave who was born in 1738, and then he was freed by his master in 1770. He was a Methodist and an abolitionist, and he had campaigned for African Americans to get education. He lived in Boston, and he had been drawn to the Masonic values and everything. He had asked to join, but he was denied for about 5 years. They denied him entrance, and then I think in 1775 they then allowed him, and he was with 14 other brothers who he joined with. But what happened was they obviously were a brethren as 15 people, but they were not allowed to form their own lodge. So in order to become a fully functioning lodge, because although they were part of a lodge, they were not being given any duties or authority. So what they did is, in order to be like a chartered lodge, but that is the Masonic way of saying it, a chartered lodge, they actually had to obtain a charter from the Grand Lodge in the United States. They appealed to the Grand Lodge of England and were granted a charter in, I think, in 1784, and they were registered as African Lodge number 459.
That's right.
So Hall organized then two more lodges, the African Lodge in Philadelphia and the Hiram Lodge in Providence, which both worked under the Boston Charter. His own lodge, I think, which is Lodge 459, grew so much. But however, even in present day, like Masonic, lodges and everything, there are still 9 mainstream Grand Lodges that do not recognize the Prince Hall lodges. And these are based in Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, and West Virginia. Anybody who is non-Black can join the Prince Hall Freemasonry. They're allowed to. White counterparts are welcome to do so if they want to be, because the Prince Hall lodges are predominantly African American. Prince Hall died in 1807. But if anybody had questions about who Prince Hall was, this is who Prince Hall was. So we are not talking about somebody who didn't know who he was, a person who didn't know how to fight for his people. He did this to fight for his people, to have certain, basically a stage for his people to speak and express themselves and have some level of power. Prince Hall Freemasonry is not some special type of Freemasonry. It uses the same Masonic suppliers, has the same. There's so many, very similar things, but what obviously makes it different is the origins of it. I don't know if I did it justice for you guys, but I just tried my best.
Oh, you surely did. I tell you that. When it come to Prince Hall, they hold on. Give me 1 second, fam. Hold on.
Oh yeah, you done a good job. And the lodge that I think it was the Scottish Rite that he signed under, that let him in.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm sorry, fam.
All right, and look, turn your screensaver off. No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Turn your screensaver off, though. I mean, on. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, give me 1 second. Turn the speaker back on. All right, can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we got you, bro.
Yeah, so Natasha, she definitely did that justice. I should have started off by mentioning Prince Hall, but like I said, there's so many different Masonic lodges in America that we just want to be specific. So I'm definitely glad she shed some light onto the history of Prince Hall. Yeah, so is there any questions or anything, any particular area that we want to go into, because Masonry is so vast, so universal. We can speak about the purpose of Freemasonry. We can speak about, the history. We can speak about the corruption that took place in Euro Freemasonry here in America. There's so many different ways and directions that we could take and go just to, help the family shed light. A lot of people think that, when it comes to Freemasonry, it comes to the craft, that everything is a secret. And that's just literally not true. It's more so dealing with the individual seeker. See, most people tend not to ask questions. They'll see a Freemason with a square and compass on his finger or whatever around his neck, and they're automatically intimidated to ask a question. And so, you know, they form their own conclusions based off of that. But I'm glad that we have this type of platform where we can discuss these different things. So, you know, if anybody out there on Facebook, Facebook Live in the comment section has any questions, we could definitely go more into depth in one of the areas that we brought up today.
Well, right now, I guess we're gonna tie it into America and the politics. I think if we want, we can start with the Civil War and work our way here. I guess since we already brought up the foundation of America, how it was founded. So I guess what I would like to do is maybe give a brief synopsis of the Civil War, you know, because a lot of people, you know, you got a lot of different parts of the Civil War that was fought. You know, a lot of people think the Civil War was fought the free slaves, you know. Then a lot of people think that, you know, it was the North and the South. The South, you know, thought that North was getting too powerful. You have all that. But then underlying all that, you have people that are using their crafts for people that's in the craft that's using it for personal gains. So you have that was a part of that Civil War that I don't think be touched on as much as it should be touched on. So I wanted to touch on that, and then I wanted to fast forward and get into where we at today with the economy, with Donald Trump, and what's going on with today. Because if you don't think that all this have something to do with all of this, you're in for a while. You're in for a rude awakening. That's all I say. So that's what I wanted. I want to start there, and then we'll tie it into what's going on right now in America. So
Well,
any of y'all,
we could mention that. Go ahead. You want to?
No, go ahead. I'm just saying, turn your screensaver on. You got your screen. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the sister Natasha just gave us the states and showed to us the states that do not recognize Prince Hall. And if sister, you want to mention those states again? Because I think that we'll see a pattern. You know what I mean? If we just listen to the states that don't recognize them. Go ahead, sister.
The states are Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, and West Virginia.
All southern states, family. Right? All racist, right? Aryan Brotherhood, KKK,
Yeah.
right? Politically run states. That's not a coincidence, family. So again, what we must recognize that there is a divide in Freemasonry between not just Prince Hall and, you know, Europeans, but more specifically with whites and blacks in general, but more specifically with, you know, those who work the craft in the original light versus those, like the brother stated earlier, who utilize the craft for their own personal reasons. And this is what Freemasonry has become in America. It has become a tool, right, for individuals who belong to that order and who have certain positions in politics, or may know another individual who belongs to that order who has a certain position in politics or whatever, and they will you know, collaborate with these individuals with their own agenda, which has nothing to do with the Masonic craft itself, but the fact that they have turned it into a secret order as opposed to a sacred order, where they, you know, conceal their evil workings that they have been doing in this country. Before we hear anything about it in politics, before we read about it, you know, in the executive order or in the bill or, you know, in the article that was just passed, you know, these individuals sit around and they have their own agenda. You know, they're planning out a lot of the things that we're seeing take place in this country. The Prince Hall specifically, we have to be very specific. Prince Hall is not involved in that, and what I just mentioned. The majority of the brothers in Prince Hall are upstanding, men. These are good brothers. They, they're not involved in a lot of these different things. And so, and not only that, Prince Hall has come to know the truth about Freemasonry. They have come to know that Freemasonry predates Europe. There are still some that belong to that order, which, how do I word it? They only recognize European descended lodges, but recognizing it and knowing a certain thing is two different things. In other words, they will see me, and they may see the compass in the square, right? And they may approach me, but once I let them know that I'm of the original Egyptian Masonic order, some of them may know what that is, and some of them may not. Some of them may respect it, and some of them may not. So we don't want to generalize, but in broad speaking terms, your average African American Freemason is not involved in a lot of what's really taking place, and that's why when we're dealing with when we speak of in terms of Freemasons and European lodges not recognizing Prince Hall Masons, it actually plays out because we can see that Prince Hall is not associated with one state. Yet, the sister just noted, I think, about 7 different states, not lodges, but states. You see what I'm saying? Meaning multiple lodges in each state. And all of them, none of them recognize the Prince Hall. So what we're dealing with here is a dynamic of keeping the African American, me and you, ignorant about what's really taking place in this country, whether or not you belong to a Masonic craft, whether or not you call yourself a Master Mason. Like this, we were just noting, many of them have no clue. Many of them have no idea of the true origins of Masonry. Many of them are not really aware of, the evil things being done at the higher levels of their own Masonic order. They may not be aware of that. But for those who do, those of us who do the research, and we read these books like my brother Neb is showing us, it lays it out in a book called The Luciferian Conspiracy, written by His Excellency Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who is a 33-degree Freemason, by the way, as well as a 720-degree Freemason, reveal and expose the evil being done by these so-called European controlled Freemasons in this country and around the world, and how there is a conspiracy, a Luciferian conspiracy, an evil conspiracy to keep the truth hidden from our people. The truth about how that ritual, right, that they have in Freemasonry is speaking about you. It's speaking about, what took place with you in this country, as well as in your history, how there were certain individuals that came into your land in ancient Egypt. They knew you had secrets. They knew you had mysteries. They knew you had knowledge of higher things of the universe, and they wanted that information. Historically, we can look this up as the Hyksos, right? These so-called Hebrews, which came into ancient Egypt under the term of Hikek Kasut or Hikek Kasutu, which they translate to mean Hyksos, which means vassal kings, right? Shepherd kings, which migrated into ancient Egypt from Mesopotamia, or what we now call Babylon, came into ancient Egypt and mixed in with the original people over a span of 400 years. After mixing in, they eventually claimed right to the throne by blood, right? It was mixed blood, but they had the right to claim the throne because yes, it's in Nubia, right? And the South became suppressed and oppressed by these foreigners, these outsiders that came in and took over the land. Well, what you can find out is that during the 18th dynasty, the 18th to the 25th dynasty is when our ancestors took the land back from these individuals. But this ruler that I mentioned earlier, named Seqenen-Retau, who became known as Hiram Abiff, was the pharaoh who maintained, right, and kept the secrets from them and was murdered for it. After he was murdered, his two children, his two sons, Ahmos and Kahmos, notice the name Mos, as in Moses, is in those two names. They told you that, these Hebrews were in Egypt and they were enslaved for 400 years, and that they were trying to escape, and that this Moses is the one that came and led them out of Egypt. Well, in fact, family, this Moses that they speak of is actually
You're starting to break up,
referring
bro.
to one called responsible. I'm starting to break.
Yeah, you getting real choppy, man. Real choppy. You getting real choppy.
Man, this
No, I think it's the area you in, bro. I think it's the area you
in. It's supposed to be 5G.
I think it's the area you in. Or you saying too much?
I'm actually up here near the airport. It's supposed to be I'm saying too much.
Yeah.
They're like, look, we got to shut him down.
Yeah. And look, what I want to do though, let's go to Neb for a quick second, then we're gonna come back to you. Because Neb showing some books, so let's go to him. All right, bro.
Well, bro, I don't know. I show some things. I might show too damn much. But we know Mormonism, right? It's something like a sect of Christianity, whether people want to believe it or not. He got killed because he was exposed to the secrets, you know what I mean? Of masonry. A guy named Joseph Smith, Of course, Jesus Still White in their books, you know what I'm saying? All their books. That's John Smith right there. What Joseph Smith was? Joseph Smith. I read that he was a Mason, but he got killed, A lot of Mormonism is a whole lot of masonry going on. Remix masonry. I ain't talking about the real deal that we represent, okay? No disrespect nobody. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with them, these people, you know what I'm saying? The Mormons. See what I'm talking about? They thought blacks were cursed. They thought that blacks were cursed, you know what I'm saying? Scottish Rite Masonry. I showed a page, but I don't want to show that page again. I probably fucked up, you know what I mean? But I ain't write the damn book. You know what I mean? I ain't write the damn book. Y'all want to see it?
No, that's
you understand? Yeah, but understand this stuff come from a Satanist in a way. It was invented by the guy named Albert Pike, Confederate. He was a Confederate man. Y'all keep talking about southern things, right? Country stuff, right? He was a Confederate man, a Luciferian, part of the New World Order. That was his thing, you know what I'm saying? He is responsible for Scottish Rite. He has nothing to do with, he stole from Egypt and they put a remix on, okay? So pure masonry, there's nothing wrong with masonry. But when you start getting into this stuff, like, I ain't gonna say all Scottish Rite people bad. I ain't gonna say all that, okay? Ain't nobody gonna jump me on me and say that crazy shit. I'm just saying, with this guy, and you go read his book, he put it in the damn book. His book called Moors and Dogma, what I just showed y'all earlier. He put in the book. You know what I'm saying? He put in the book. So whatever, I mean, y'all go back. So I ain't gonna show it. You know what I'm saying? I seen some many Bibles, that little white Jesus too. You know what I'm saying?
Look, is that the 1611?
No, that's
Okay, that's when they came out with
that.
That's
the King James. That's the 1611 King James version.
Yeah.
Whenever you dealing with a Masonic Bible, unless they came out with some in the last few years, whenever you're dealing with a Masonic Bible, they're all dealing with King James version of the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
So the very first one, like you can see the symbols all throughout it.
What's say? We talking about
Hey, look, Saharu, they're in this one too. He just has to go. He has to scroll through the beginning pages of the book.
Yeah,
These people, hold up. These people have given us, you're right. Scott is right. These people are giving you your stuff, but with a remix. They're giving you your knowledge with a remix. This stuff ain't starting Kemet. This is a new age situation. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what's so crazy about it?
Order 19. Look, Knight Templar. Did I write it?
Listen, it got so bad that the Masons came up with their own book because people started decoding all the symbols in the Bible. So they came out with their own because people started decoding.
You want to see something?
Hold on, Natasha got something. Go ahead, Queen. You can get in here.
That's not that's pipe. See what I'm saying? That's pipe. I didn't write it. Page
hold on, brother. Nip. Let's get Natasha.
I'm done.
I just wanted to add to the point that Brother Nabat brought up to say that a lot of Masons actually don't know the origins of Masonry. And if we're going to touch on that, we should touch on the mystic shrines. I don't know if anyone is aware of mystic shrines.
Well, most definitely.
So if we're going to touch on how they actually don't know the origins.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was just about to go ahead, sis.
I want to talk about the mystic shrines. So shrines are a kind of like a spin-off of the Freemasons, where they bring fun and philanthropy together. And the shrine is like, it's often called like a playground for Freemasons. But before a man can become a Shriner, he has to become a Freemason. But Freemasons don't necessarily have to become Shriners. But what you will find with the mystic shrine, they always want to credit it to Arabic culture, but it's actually not Arabic. It comes from African culture, specifically from the Moors, the Moorish civilization, the Nile, which is obviously Kemetic, and all symbols of the mystic shrine are African origin and not Arabic. So people who will look into Freemasonry, I'm not saying there's nothing that comes from Arabic for the shrine side of it, but if you're going to look into Freemasonry, into detail, you have to look at both those things, because a lot of confusion comes with the mystic shrine and the origins and the symbols. They all come from Africa, and specifically look at the Moorish civilization and obviously the Nile Valley civilization of Egypt.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the shrine, because you know, in the Knights Templar, most people don't know this, but Muslims can join the Knights Templar, and I gotta watch it. Look, just know that it was they came together because they was fighting. I'm gonna generalize this. It was a lot of fighting going on around one particular place, and the Arabs and the Christians came up with a truce and stopped fighting. And in their truce that they came up with, they started an organization. It's the Shriners, y'all. I'm just breaking it. Look, man, I'm not gonna play with. Listen, they started this organization, but it was a truce over a certain area where they kept fighting it, and they came up with a truce. So that's why when you get with the Shriners, like they speak.
You're talking about the Temple Mount.
Yeah, it was. They came up. Man, don't tell me Facebook kicked me off. Yeah, go ahead, bro. I think something happened. Go ahead. Let me see what's going on.
Look. Watch this. Well, how they got beef, right? How they got beef, right? Look at that. What did it say? Accept it. Scott is right. Right record, right? Okay. How they got beef? They might got a little small beef, but they got more in common. Look, playing the orders. See? Damn. See what I'm saying? There's more in common than there is beef. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I just wanted to speak on you know, what you just spoke about. When you're dealing with the Shriners and the Knights of Templar, it was dealing with the Temple Mount. See, the Knights of Templar considered that spot sacred because of its history in the Torah. And the Arabs considered it sacred because of Muhammad's migration to that spot and his ascension into the heavens according to the Quran. His journey through there, and he ascended into heaven at a mosque called Al-Aqsa. Now, these individuals, these Templars and these Arabs were both considered it religions, but this created a conflict between the two because one thought they had the right to protect it, and the others thought they had the right. Well, over time, these Knights of Templars and these Shriners, this was before the formation of the shrine, and this was also before the formation of the order called the Knights of Templar that we know of today. These were just knights that protected this particular temple and the people who worshipped at that temple, and the Shriners protected that same, place for that very same reason. They protected their own religious followers who would go and worship, or visit that particular temple. They would protect their own people. Over time, they began to debate about the meaning of this temple and the significance of the temple. And over time, the Knights of Templar learned much. They learned a lot from these Arabs, right? Which were in fact black people.
Hey, Brother Nabat.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
on my camera again.
Your camera, bro.
Okay. Yeah. So these particular Shriners, were Arabs, or they were actually Sabians specifically, because they were inhabitants of the land of Arabia before it was called Arabia. It was called the land of Saba. And this is where these Shriners came from. They came from pre-Arab Arabia. In other words, these were Ethiopians, these were Egyptians who inhabited the land of Arabia before Arabs showed up. So long story short, you had these Shriners and these Knights of Templar who were trading the history of the significance of that temple, and that is what played out and later on became the shrine, the ancient Arabic order, the nobles of the mystic shrine. So, but what I want to do is I want to share my screen real quick to share with the family. Let me see. I'm sorry, fans. So this is a new phone I'm working with. Okay. All right, here we are. Y'all see this? Y'all see this picture here?
We see it, brother.
Yes, yes.
Baba Yanu.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
The master teacher.
Yeah, that's right. This is our imperial grand potentate
That's right.
of the Al-Mahdi shrine, right? This is the origin of the shrine. The shrine actually originated, the order of the shrine that we're looking at here actually originated with a man called the Mahdi, right? Who was born in 1845, right? And passed in 1885. This is Malachi's great grandfather who actually started the shrine. If you look in the background here, we all can see the symbols, right? We're not looking at Muslims. We're not looking at Islamic doctrine.
No.
This is Egyptian doctrine, right?
Thanks.
That's inside of a Shriner's,
Exactly.
inside of a Shriner's temple or a shrine.
Exactly.
So when we do our history, family, like the sister was noting earlier, Natasha, it's not dealing with Arabs, right? When we're talking about the shrine, it's actually talking about ancient Africans, right, who inhabited Arabia before these mixed seed of Arabs came in. And those are the ones who had the secrets. Those are the ones who protected the shrine, which got where they got the title Shriners, right? They were Shriners because they protected the shrine and those who came and worshiped at the shrine. But all of this goes back to ancient Egypt. This is why they call it the ancient Egyptian Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. Y'all hear? Y'all catch that? The ancient Egyptian Arabic.
He talked real masonry, not no other bullshit.
Exactly. And if we see here, family, you see that pyramid on that symbol around on his chain?
Yes.
That is showing that symbol is not worn by every Shriner. It's not worn by all Shriners.
Nope.
Also, if we go up here and you look at the symbol of the shrine itself, right? This centerpiece, this dark spot that you see here is actually a pharaoh's face. But what the Shriners don't know, many of them, is exactly whose face is it. You see what I'm saying? Exactly which pharaoh's face is that? And why is a pharaoh's face on something that we're supposed to be associating with Islam? Right? Because we're being told that the shrine is dealing with Islam, right?
And it is not. It is not Arabic and it is not Islamic, 100%.
That's right. That's right. So here we see, family, we just want people to do their own research, whether you call yourself a Shriner, whether you call yourself a Master Mason, whether you don't know what either of those two things are and you're just doing research. We have to understand the significance that these sacred orders played in our history, because it's our stuff. It's ours. It was taken from us. It was hidden from us. They kept it from us, but it is ours. And it is secrets and mysteries and information passed down to you from your ancient ancestors, right? That you are meant to research. You're meant to remember these things, right? To bring these things together again, to remember. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I hope that I hope that sparks some questions or interest in the people to go out there and do some research. Don't believe what anybody tells you. Don't believe what you heard today. We're not expecting people to accept what we're saying. We're expecting you to go out there and ask questions, be critical, and don't just form your own conclusions. If you see Mason and you want to know, ask them. The majority of things, is not a secret. It's just that, Masonry is just not one of those things that's just going to be broadcasted to the world, to everybody. It's light, it's information. In ancient Egypt, you had to knock. You had to want to be a part of these sacred orders. Now, again, I'll clear that up by stating that in today's Masonic orders, a lot of them have, go against the original teachings, which states that you should not invite any individual into the Masonic order. So you'll never hear me or any real Mason inviting you to join the Masons. In ancient Egypt, did not go around the world in India and or can you join our higher mysteries? There were no invitations sent out, right? If you have it within you to get this information, then you will seek it out yourself. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to touch on that, family.
And keep that page up. Keep that page up. Keep that page as Dr. York up. Put it back.
Okay, let's
that man right there.
Let's just read this here.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to read this excerpt here so we'll know who exactly our master teacher is. So he's the Imperial Grand Potentate internationally, which means across the world. An Imperial Grand Potentate is the highest position in the shrine. He's over Al Mahdi Temple number 19, called Illustrious Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York, 33 degrees, of the ancient Egyptian order and nobles of the Mystic Shrine. The ancient Egyptian order and nobles of the Mystic Shrine, northern and southern jurisdiction, and Grand Master of the Nuwapian Grand Lodge, accepted free, ancient free and accepted Masons, and the Supreme Grand Hierophant of the ancient Egyptian order of the world. So what this means, family, is that Malachi Z. York is an ancient Egyptian Masonic ancient ancestors, as I stated earlier, dates back over 10,500. So they know what he knows. And, you know, we just challenge the family to, you know, open your eyes a little wider